Good afternoon. My name is Scott Redler, Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com. Welcome to today's recap and look ahead. Interesting day. Dow was down about 100 points. NASDAQ was weaker. We came in today. Futures is down a little bit. We were trying to figure out, would the gap from yesterday hold? Yesterday we had a big outsized gap and a gap and go type day where everyone was excited about the delivery of Donald Trump's speech. And the question is, do we hold the gap and be really strong and continue, or do they try and fill the gap, let some steam out and then resume the trend once we get back to the 8 and 21 day? So if you look at the chart here of the S&P cash, all you do see is that today we took back what the market gained, after the open yesterday. So if you look, here is that big gap, okay, and we just matched it right there. Does that mean it's rally over? Does it mean get short, at the yin yang? Does it mean we're having a crash? No. All it means is that so far today, they took back a third of what this entire move was and puts a little caution in the air, because now it seems as if maybe we want to test the 8-day like we've done many times, and we even got to the 21-day. We're a little extended here, don't you think? Here is your few different pivots. This one, and then the most recent one we broke out above was 2,300. So 2,300 to 2,400. Maybe we do come in a little bit, and if you're active, you don't want to sit with that. Some guys might even be short, saying, hey, we probably gap down tomorrow, maybe fill this gap. So for me, I'll see what happens. We gap down, and fill the gap. Maybe there's an opportunity to buy into the 8-day if we open up and trade into the gap and come back up. Maybe we do a red dog reversal, or maybe tomorrow, we just open sideways and do some more time. So I don't know. So at this point, I'm pretty flat overnight. I did my worst day, to be honest, of the year was here. Okay, so I have a little bit of footsteps. What was my worst day? First of all, this was one of my best days right here. We broke out of this consolidation. I bought, sold into this, and then all of a sudden into this 3-day move, things were acting well, okay, and I think I was in 7, 8 positions, and then that happened. Okay, so that got me out of a lot of them, and then I wasn't sure whether or not, remember, this trend line was going to hold. That was a 21-day, and it wound up holding, gapped up. Right here is when we started buying back again, and then added, and then we had a nice move. So, this gap up, sideways, wound up not being anything in the scheme of the trend. So I just don't know if, what's going to happen here. So I'm kind of seeing some footsteps with the same pattern here. You had 3 days and then down into the 21-day. Look how much further we are. This is the second day. So, just Fridays also tend not to be my best day. So anyway, well, I'm looking for a little bit more price discovery before I start to figure things out. You also had one of those days, where was it? Where you had, I don't know, an engulfing day that amounted to nothing, where I think everyone got short, but whatever it was, maybe on this day everyone got short thinking we were going to get crushed, and then the next day we opened up before anything. But at this point, that's where we are. So if you look at some of the sectors, the IWM got stopped out of. Why did I get stopped out of? Because it's a choppy mess. My line in the sand was here. So my thesis on this trade was, I thought perhaps it makes a new 52-week high, that it just poked its head above this spot. Okay, for it to make a new 52-week high and for momentum to be real strong, you would have thought yesterday's low would hold 139.50 to take out 140.80. And what happened? It went sideways for a while, broke this, so I got out. And it went lower. Now it closed in the lows again. Last time it closed in the lows, you had a gap and it trapped everybody. Now we close in the lows. I don't know what's going to happen, but all I know is this is very choppy. Okay, so my thought of holding here and adding for highs, that was my trade. That didn't happen. If your trade is buying the 21-day, then that's different. Maybe tomorrow we get a red dog reversal around this pivot and then it goes. All I know is, the small caps have been a choppy mess. Look at the size of this range before getting a little move to highs, and then, this was not the strongest sector. XLE, I do think, could play catch up, and that's only if the market stays strong. Okay, so for me, I was in it. And I actually got stopped out at the 30-minute low. Why did I get stopped out at the 30-minute low or the 60-minute low? Because I was a little tight. Okay, this did not trade into the gap from yesterday. So this, on a day-to-day basis, short term, a little stronger than the small caps, but it's also a lot weaker, relatively speaking, considering it's been a laggard sector, and it was, again, rejected here for now. So maybe get another inside day. I get back into it once we get a little bit more price discovery from the market, and then if it happens to break this and the market wants to continue to go up, then all of a sudden, this trade goes back on. For now, though, if the S&P trades a lot lower, not saying it's going to, this is a laggard group and it could continue lower. Okay, S&P hangs in there, maybe goes up a little bit. This then could play catch up. I didn't like how oil reacted. It tried to blow off the move in oil, meaning like yesterday the oil was down, it was up. Today, the USO broke this range, and now it's going to test the lower end of the range. So if oil doesn't hold this, I find it hard to believe that the XLE is going to hold up. So that's why I was a little bit quick on it. As far as the banks, some engulfing days after big moves. What do I mean by an engulfing day? Look at JP Morgan. JP Morgan, it wasn't very, systematic. What's systematic? It means like, you gap up, you go sideways, and then you continue to the upside. Instead, it hung around here and then closed on the lows into the gap. So, maybe it wants to fill it. Maybe it's going to put an island top in. At this point, you're above the 8-day, you're above the 21-day. Last real calculated trade was here. So, you had a gap, and there's a chance it could be an exhaustion move, considering, look at the size of this move. So, last time you had a gap up out of the range, it continued, and then it went sideways before going again. Now, gap up, next day, negating whatever. Anyone who bought yesterday is feeling like they might have chased. So it creates an interesting dynamic. So for me, I think it's, that's a sign that it could go lower. Bank of America, I did not buy back today. Some people are like, Red Dog, did you buy Bank of America? I'm like, not yet. Last time you had a down day in the size of the range, it went back to the 8-day. This is not only a Red Dog reversal, but it's almost an engulfing outside day. Meaning, what did it do? It traded above a prior high of 2660. So if you were long it, you were like, oh, okay, it's up at highs. Once it went back below that, oh, it didn't hold the momentum level. Maybe let me get out. And then when it went red, I would say most momentum guys would have got out, and then you wait to see what's next. So at this point, it's come a long way. Last time we had a really juicy strategy was buying here, adding here, selling here, and then I've been pretty light ever since. I like these 3-day moves that are really tight and, awesome. This to me does not look like an awesome setup. Nice if you're in here and you're able to sell into that, and then if you bought yesterday, you had to be a little careful saying, wow, 1, 2, 3, 4 days up into a big gap, maybe there's a little bit of exhaustion there, but we'll see. And if you're just blindly shorting because you think it's come a long way, that's a little risky too. But I would say, this would have got me out if I was long it on an active basis, either at this pivot or when it went red. And then you have high beta tech. High beta tech's been wishy-washy. Netflix hasn't been acting right. This morning in the morning call, I said, if the market wants to be weak today, be careful. If Netflix wants to break yesterday's lows. Not only did Netflix break yesterday's lows, it broke the 8 and the 21 day. So, that to me, traders might have made money short here. I didn't short it, but this was the last time Netflix was a great setup to the long side. Remember, buy, add, get rid of some, and then in here was your small outside day, held the 21 day, rallied up, lower high, and now boom. So it did break this, it closed near lows. To me, some active guys might be short this overnight. Makes sense. Below the 8 and 21 day moving average, it means it's below the momentum moving averages it hasn't been below in a while. So could get down to the 50 day. We'll see. Apple, I had it overnight, sold it today. Not the end of the world, but why was I tight on Apple? Because look at the size of the move. Look at the size of the move from the Red Dog reversal here to breaking the downtrend there to gapping up after earnings to getting above the post-candle earnings high. And now, this one down day might lead to a little bit more. Okay, well, this did hold in better than other things. Only gave back like a third, okay, or almost half of what yesterday was. So it's still fine. It's just extended. So you have to be careful. Microsoft, I took home for the first time yesterday, and I lost money there. Why did I lose money there? Because, there was a day one, and if a day one's going to hold to turn into a day 2, day 3, usually it holds the top third of that day one, maybe at least half of it. What did Microsoft do? It gave it all back. So for me, my thought was, okay, if the market wants to be strong, let me find some plays that could get back to highs. And I'm not saying the market's not going to be strong anymore, but when I look at this chart, I'm like, hey, look at that day one. Okay, maybe this tight range gets, what's it called, taken to the upside, and it gets a move back to highs and then some. If that's going to happen, it also needed to get through yesterday's high today. So what happened today? It gapped lower and then negated yesterday's strength. Okay, in a day that the Dow was down 100 versus up 3, so that's showing relative weakness. So for me, I get out of it, lost some money, and I'll revisit. It could also be vulnerable here, if it wants to break to the downside. So for me, the trade of buying it here, adding here, getting a nice move back to highs doesn't look like it's ready for that, so that's why I get out of the way. It doesn't mean if you've been in it since here or been in it since down there, it's run for the hills. It just means if you were playing it for a reason, that reason for me changed. Tesla, what is it doing? It's hanging out. Had a quick little trade yesterday. Not yesterday. What did we have it? 2 days ago. Some people sold into that today. You could have bought it, down and went up a little bit. I guess there's an inside range here. If it wants to hold here and go, it could repair. It still has a big hole in the chart, so you have to be a lot more careful as it's kind of in the penalty box. To me, you just got to be careful because it could pull a NVIDIA. What do I mean by pulling a NVIDIA? NVIDIA also had a move where it corrected. What do I mean by corrected? Had a big move, got sold on earnings, lower high. Remember, we bought it into here. This was a nice trade. But what did the trade do? Went back into the moving averages and then had a nice little 3-day range. So I was thinking, hey, maybe if the market's going to be really strong, these laggard names or these names in the penalty box could go higher. But it also, some guys like Red Dog, isn't this a bear flag? Moved down, bounced back, could continue down. Isn't this an H sell setup? Yeah, it could be that too. And today proved more of an H sell setup than breaking this range to come back up. Was that saying that this old school market leader is telling us the market's going lower now? I don't know. I'm just saying it's not something you should be sitting in. It's not above the 8 and 21-day like it was during this process. It's now below it, getting rejected by it, so you have to be a bit more careful. Here was that recent low. Okay, so that's our only point of reference now. Broke below this 3-day range and came below this and closed on the dead low, something that people might even be short overnight. I'm not shorted overnight, but I'm definitely not long it for now. So these are some of the thoughts. Today was just one of those days where if you came in flat-footed yesterday and you tried to buy some positions responsibly, you probably were down in all of them today, so maybe you got out of them. That happens. That's frustrating. That's basically what happened to me. I came in yesterday, not long, figured ways to try and get involved, made some money, took some risk overnight, thinking, okay, maybe we continue. And then a lot of those things that I bought yesterday were all down today, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to wait because the last thing I want to do is get caught in another one of those potential island top exhaustion moves like I got caught back then before resuming what was a nice trend. So I'm going to be flattish overnight. I will say Snap was good, and then kind of got hit at the end of the day, so I didn't take it overnight. Let me show you the quick way to trade it, how we traded, or at least I traded it, from the start. Here's your 5-minute move. Basically you had this first quick move. I actually was a little uncharacteristic of me. I bought it a little bit around 24 and 24.30. Okay, that was the first candle. Went up to 25.20, so that was considered a prior high. Came up here, I think somewhere right around here. I tweeted, I said, hey, you could be a buyer of Snap at 24 half-ish and put a stop at the low of the day. Takes out 25.20. Momentum could take it higher. Well, it flagged, took out 25.20, took out this, gave you a move to 26-ish. Okay, at this point I sold some, and then I wasn't on my desk when this happened. You get a little 5-minute head and shoulders top. Sometimes you could play these patterns too intraday, and broke this spot, broke the 21-day, which it was building during the course of the 5-minute bar. So that was your exit. If you exited, I had small left. Right here is pretty much where I got stopped out. Bought a little bit into this, saying, hey, you know what? This was prior support. Let me buy a little bit. And then I was like, oh, got out. Tried it one more time, and then it rolled over. So I'm like, you know what? Everyone's saying it's a $10 stock, et cetera, et cetera. I don't feel like being in it overnight, so I didn't hold it overnight. Maybe we'll revisit tomorrow. Let the pattern build. As of right now for the daily chart, tomorrow, if you're a member of Redler, it'll be on the go-to list, and I'll say, Snap started out well, then lost steam. Its prior high is 26.05. See if it gets above that to give a day 2, day 3, or see how many days it needs to spend above yesterday's low to find some more buyers and sellers and price discovery. So for now, this is all in Snap. While everyone will have an opinion, we'll see if we gap up tomorrow, we'll see if we gap down tomorrow, and then maybe there'll be some trades, or maybe avoid it until there's more data. And that said, I think some of you guys made money short gold. Let me show you why you would have been short gold. If you take a look here. Here is a red dog reversal after a big move into the 200-day. So guys were like, why don't you get short gold? I'm like, I'm not going to short it, but this is a red dog reversal, 119.88 after a big move. This is when I reclaimed the 21-day. Decent trend to the upside, and now that trend off the 2016 low or the start of the 2017 is now vulnerable. It stays on the right side of it now, goes sideways, it can continue down. This was a good sell signal if you were long, and maybe even a good short signal if you were looking for it because you wanted to get short gold after a nice move from the lows. Now you have a point of reference, 117.22. Trade versus that, there is some support there. If it can't get back above this trend line, it might continue down. Tomorrow, I'm in Short Hills. I will be on the VTF. We don't have a microphone there still, which I'm sorry. I will definitely have a smaller note. My note for Redler All Access is smaller on Fridays. and you will be watching a different content provider in the morning, because I do the morning call and recap Monday through Thursday. At this point, if you brought some risk down because of today's action, I think it makes sense. I did. I'm going to look for a little bit more price discovery before I start getting back into a portfolio approach, which I left last Thursday, and I've been trying to make money tactically. And there's been some good setups, but for right now, the setup to me is we could fill that gap in the spiders. Some sectors are weaker than others. I'm going to let some things shake out before I put different types of positions on, because I'm not seeing A+ setups. I'm seeing B- at best, so no need to be so involved with B- at best. Have a great night. It is Thursday. Enjoy yourself.